Yo, what's up? This is Rhodes
And James.
with Tropidelic, and you're watching World Music Views with J.R. Watkins.
Big up, big up, big up, big up. What's up? So, welcome to World Music Views. I discovered you on Instagram, but
Okay.
it's in my search for bands that are expanding the reggae market that I discovered that you guys are killing it, you know? So, before we even get into it, just tell me, first of all, who you are, tell me your names, tell me about your band, and how you started in music.
I'm Mathew Roads
I'm James Begin.
with Tropidelic, and we started, out of Cleveland, Ohio. Been going at it for like 10 years or so now. Tour the whole country. We play like a mix of music that has a little bit of, reggae influence in it. What else more specifically? You tell us what do you want us to tell you?
How did you start? Like, how did you each started playing music?
Okay.
I started playing the drums when I was in first grade, and then kind of did that all through like middle school, high school, and then I was singing in bands before I met Rhodes, and then he asked me to learn the trombone to play in Tropidelic. So that's kind of how I got going, but was mostly a vocalist until I met these guys, which was about 9 years ago now.
Yeah, so I started playing guitar, writing music like 15 years old or so. Um, Formed this band in my college years, and yeah, it's been going great since, man.
So you're the leader of the band, and you're originally from Ohio.
I grew up in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, but I've lived in Cleveland for I guess the better portion of my life now. Um, but the rest of these guys are all from the Cleveland area.
And why did you think Bob Marley infused rock in his reggae, right? So roots rock reggae is a thing. Roots rock reggae, sure,
Yeah, yeah.
good to me. And you guys are known as a rock reggae band too, right?
Yeah, to a degree, we get put in that category. We have a lot of hip hop influence and bluesy stuff, and a lot of stuff going on. But that's part of it. And I guess going back to how this kind of started, the bands like Sublime, bands like 311, who we're on tour with right now, were a big influence to us, um, or to me at least early on. So that kind of sent us down this path of this music that we're making now.
Yeah, I think we're both too. Never been the band's always just been like a fan of reggae, but then the other elements like the more rock and the hip hop and stuff got driven into it just because of the music and stuff that's around us in Cleveland. Very big like rock and hip hop scene. So it was kind of just like a mixture of all that.
Is there a big reggae scene in Cleveland?
No,
No.
non-existent.
So there is one guy who's kind of been the torchbearer for the scene, who I've been told, it may or may not be true, that he's one of the first American reggae acts. His name's Carlos Jones, and his band, a few decades ago, was called First Light. And I've been told that they were kind of one of the first American reggae acts back in, I guess, in the 70s or so. But there's not a huge scene for it. It's pretty much him and a couple other acts.
And you drop albums. I found the name Three City Exodus to be interesting because Bob Marley's album is called Exodus. Tell me about the choice for that name, and tell me about the album itself.
So that's a little known album. That was like an EP that was many years ago before James was even around. Tree City was Kent, Ohio. Most known for Kent State University. That's where I went to school, and I think at the time the thought process was we were all leaving there. Thus the Exodus. I'm sure some of that was derived from the Bob Marley reference you mentioned, but at the time I think it was just it was time for us to leave town. And since then the band migrated about an hour north to Cleveland.
And you remain independent, dropping your albums independently. Why? What are you signed to a label now? And are you signed to a label now?
Yeah, so it's ineffable. We're under the ineffable umbrella, which is they have the stick figures, the Collie Buds. the movement, those sort of acts. They are an independent sort of label though, so it's been great for us. Their backing has been super helpful. Managed to get on a bunch of kind of editorial Spotify playlists, which help us grow exponentially. So it's been going great.
And who would you say individually are your influences now to make music?
I'm a big Mac Miller fan. That kind of, so I do a lot of the rapping in the band, so that has like a big influence for me. Also in like rap, like Rum the Jewels kind of stuff. But also I still listen to a good amount of reggae that's like within our scene and stuff as well. Like Revolution, I'm a big fan of. The Dirty Heads, I'm a big fan of. I think they have a big influence on me as well.
A lot of the same ones, but I try to really listen to a diverse batch of music. So I mean, I listen to a lot of bluegrass. There's this band called Jungle that I was just listening to on my run. They're from the UK. Just anything new and interesting that I can get my hands on is what I like.
And you have a festival called the Grassroots Festival. What's the nature of that? Is that a reggae festival, or you incorporate all the genres in it?
So it's called Everwild Music Festival is the name of it. I think is the one you're referring to.
It's Everwild. Okay.
Yeah. So this year, I mean, it's like reggae adjacent ish. We had the Dirty Heads headline this year. We also had Hyrie. She's great.
I love Hyrie. I love Hyrie actually.
And we had Bumpin' Uglies and Little Stranger. So it was a little bit of mixture of hip hop, reggae. So it's kind of our brand of, we're not quite like reggae. We're somewhere over here, close-ish. But it did great. It was like the fifth iteration of the event. Did almost, 3,000 plus people in Central Ohio. So it was a blast.
You guys are part of a new generation of reggae acts that are charting new courses. This week, Stick Figure Wisdom dethroned Bob Marley's 140-week run on the Billboard Reggae chart. They debuted at 51 on the Billboard 200 albums chart, which means that there's a new market being carved for reggae. It's not like you're taking the market. You're carving a new space for reggae music. They streamed 32 million times. These are unprecedented numbers for local reggae acts, especially in Jamaica. To what do you credit the success of the American US reggae bands?
I think it's a little bit what we talked about. I think it sounds different. It is something different. It is new turf. It's new ground. So I think in that sense, it's like an ignition switch. It's like, what am I hearing here? This is like, there's familiarities to traditional reggae music, but there's something different. And I think that really excites people and gets people to kind of grab a hold to.
I think these days too, a lot of people are listening less to like full albums or bands directly. Like they'll put on like a playlist or something that just has a bunch of the music that's like the same vibe. And I think like within the music that's being created in the reggae world now, a lot of it does just go so hand in hand that you could put on one artist, find 10 more that you like. So it's just kind of like everybody's kind of helping each other grow in that aspect. So it's happening a little quicker where like you'll put on something just because you like the vibe of it. And if it's shuffling between 10 artists, chances are you're going to like the next one too. Whereas that might not be the same in a lot of other genres.
What do you say to critics who say that the white reggae bands are culture vulturing the roots rock reggae, which started in Trenchtown, Jamaica?
I'd say we're not a white reggae band. But I'm not, I guess, and we've heard this kind of thing before, maybe not even necessarily about the reggae stuff. Because if you really listen to our music, to call it reggae would be to almost say that you don't know what reggae really is. Because it's not. There's a little bit of elements, but that's not what it is. But my opinion on that, though, in general, is that if you're a bricklayer, if you're a craftsman or whatever, if you're trying to do the best thing that makes sense for you, you're of course going to learn from other people and take the pieces that work for you, that work best, to do what you do best. You know what I'm saying? So I think to argue that, you're appropriating culture or anything. I mean, I just don't get down with it. I mean, like, we're doing what we like to do, and it's I think people should be honored that people respect this music as much as they do to want to make it, and I guess that's my thoughts on it.
Are there any Jamaican reggae bands that you'd want to collaborate with, or singers that you'd want to collaborate with?
Damian Marley and Nas's album together was like one of my favorite projects of all time. I would love to do some rapping with Damian Marley. That would be insane.
that Protege, he's Jamaican, right? He's great. Yeah, he's great. He's a great new one.
Oh, wow. Tell me your top 5 artists of all time.
Ooh, that's a tough one.
Alberosi is another one that I really like. He's Jamaican, right?
Yeah, he lives in Jamaica, but he's from Italy, but he lives in Jamaica.
Okay, yeah, he's. I love Alberosi. Top 5 all time.
I know I mentioned him earlier, but Mac Miller is definitely in my top 5.
Mac Miller. There was a group called The Band, and it was Bob Dylan's backing band, and they're from upstate New York, and I love them so much. I'd say Atmosphere is in my top 5.
Definitely.
The tastes are kind of changed, but 311 Sublime, they would have been in my top 5. They probably still are, honestly.
Yeah, it's tough.
It's
I
hard.
listen to a lot of like punk rock and ska music as well, so a lot of like deep, just like local Cleveland bands that I'm jamming a lot.
Yeah, Are you coming with a new album soon?
We're working on it. We just put out an album beginning of August, so we're fresh off the heels of a new one. We got all the songs demoed out for the next one. It'll probably be 2023. So we've been staying pretty consistent, an album a year. It'll probably be next spring, summer, maybe fall.
And you going on tour with this album that you just dropped?
Yes, so we're on tour with 311 right now. We got about a week left. We just got off the road with Michael Franti in the summer, July. Before that, we were on tour with a band called Iration. So we've been on a steady 5 months of pretty hard touring. So we're looking forward to a little bit of a break here next month.
Iration's lead singer is a guy called Hector Lewis, who used to be the drummer for Chronics.
Okay.
He's from Jamaica, so I know that band. I like the fact that you guys are doing your thing in the way that you want to do it. You don't seem moved by the system of music, right? So the system of music is you have to sell records. You have to be hot. You have to be like the top act to be recognized. But you guys are in a groove where you just drop the album and go on tour to sold out venues. Like that's a formula. How did you get to that point where you're just building a fan base and going on the road doing your thing?
It's very DIY and grassroots. And I have to stop myself every once in a while and realize what we've done. And this isn't the case for some people that blow up overnight, but we've done it the hard way. I mean, we started out slow, playing nearby cities for very few people and very little money. And it just, inch by inch, leg by leg, we kept leveling up.
For 10 years.
For like a long time. Yeah. So it took a long time to get here, and we didn't do it the easy way. We didn't blow up overnight or anything like that. This is just like years and years of just hard work on the road to get where we're at now. Not to say that we're superstars, as we're far from it, but we do okay, and people know us, and that's really all we could ask for.
I think like the family element that's associated with our fan base too has been a huge part of that. Like, we don't really go to these towns and play for people and then be like, oh, you have to check out this band I saw. Like, we go to these cities and we make friends with the people that are there, and we spend time there, and we hang out, and people leave and they go, hey, you have to meet my friends, Tropidelic. And that's just like been such a massive help for everything, just by spreading word of mouth.
Wow. Have you ever been to Jamaica?
No.
Are you looking forward to coming?
Yeah, one day for sure.
We've done some of these cruises and stuff in the Caribbean, but never Jamaica yet.
Okay. What advice would you give to young up-and-coming Jamaican bands, Jamaican singers who want to build a fan base and get to the level that you guys are touring the US extensively?
I guess I couldn't say how it relates to Jamaica, but I'd say it's pretty similar to us, where you got to be prepared to grind it out for, years. Unless you're real lucky, which I would say, don't have the false hope that you're going to be in the 1 or 2% of people that get plucked out of whatever town or city you're in and just exploded, because for most all of us, it takes years and years of hard work. And that's just any business. Like, you got to give yourself time to grow. You got to put in the work. You got to pay your dues. And to not have that expectation would be a little bit fooling yourself, because this is hard work. It's a job. It's a business. It takes a long time to grow. So I just be willing to do the work and have realistic expectations.
And I would say just start now. Like, tomorrow's too late. Like, and that's something I still struggle with all the time. Just like putting things off or thinking it's not time to do things yet. Like, the sooner you start and the sooner you start making the mistakes that you're going to make eventually, the sooner you can remedy them and get on the right path.
All right, man. Thank you so much.
Yo, what's up? This is Rhodes.
And James.
And you're watching World Music Views.
Thank you so much, Gretchen. I love what you guys are doing.